Hello, Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising. Welcome to my channel. It is such a blessing to be here with you, so thank you for being here with me for your February 2024 recap. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to connect with you today. In the description box below, you will find links to information on personal readings, the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram, and ways to support the work I do here if you would like to explore any of those options. You will also find a timestamp if you would like to jump to the start of your reading. Please do keep in mind this is a collective reading, not a personal reading, so use your discernment and take only what resonates with you. If you find that something shared does resonate, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, comment below and or share this content, as it tells YouTube that there may be something valuable here for someone else, which is a gift to both this channel and to others as well, and I greatly appreciate that support. February brought for us the meeting of Chiron and the North Node, which inspires us to recognize and accept our wounds and activate our own healing. We're encouraged to forge a new path forward, utilizing the wisdom, knowledge, and intuitive truths we've gained to align us with our higher calling. So we are going to be looking at your overall energy, the realizations or epiphanies that February may have brought for you, how this might impact your journey moving forward, and getting some messages and advice to best support and serve you. So without further ado, Pisces, let's get to it. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us please about the overall energy for Pisces. What did February 2024 bring for Pisces, please? Thank you. Tell us please, what realizations or epiphanies did February 2024 bring for Pisces? Thank you. Tell us please, how might this impact Pisces' journey moving forward? Okay, what messages and advice? All right, thank you. Okay, tell us please more about the overall energy for Pisces. What February, thank you. All right. Tell us more please, what realizations or epiphanies did February 2024 bring? Thank you. Tell us more please, how might this impact Pisces' journey? Thank you. Tell us what other messages or advice will best support and serve Pisces, please. Okay, thank you. All right. Any other messages that we need to know, please, about the overall energy? Anything else we need to know, please, about the overall energy for Pisces? Thank you. Anything else we need to know, please, about the realizations or epiphanies February? Thank you. Anything else we need to know, please? Yep. Thank you. And any other messages or advice that will best support and serve Pisces? Thank you. All right. So Pisces, I do want to share with you that this is not my first attempt at your reading. I've actually started this several times and actually did a full-length reading, though what came through there was something that I felt perhaps I needed to have another go at, simply because it was very confusing, which isn't something typical that I experience in readings. So I wanted to have another go at it. So let's see what comes through for you. You do have here the law of habit: ignite your creativity with a pattern interrupt. Yeah, it seems to me that the overall energy that was brought forward for you in the month of February was really about pointing out certain cyclic things occurring in your experience. Now, this could be a vast number of things, certainly depending on you and your own unfolding, your own journey. This is collective after all, right? So it's going to look different for everyone. But I do feel like your attention was being brought to the habits that you have, especially when it comes to those that are not serving you. And so you may have been encouraged to see these things and to make changes, right? It's interesting how there's ignite your creativity with a pattern interrupt. Perhaps, I don't know why it's coming through this way, but it feels like for some of you, you may have been doing the same thing for quite some time. Whether this is your routine, okay, so I'm getting a couple of things. One, for some of you, maybe you've kind of been living life on autopilot, which happens frequently. It happens a lot more often than we would imagine or that we typically are aware of. Um, so perhaps you've been living your life on autopilot and this was bringing your attention to that. For others of you, I feel like there could be something here around addictions, and being in the same habit or pattern for a very long time. Now, this certainly could be addiction to substances or alcohol, or sex or things like this, but it could also be, addictions to or patterns around negative thinking, negative self-talk, um, lack mentality, certain things like things like that. Again, it's probably going to look different for everyone, but I feel as though your attention was being brought to these things, and potentially even for some of you at a little bit of a deeper level, let's say, how these patterns have interrupted your life. Okay? Let's see what else you have. The law of neutrality, practice non-reaction and staying in equanimity. So it's interesting because I feel like with this card coming up, some of these patterns and habits may stem from lower egoic drives, trauma, wounding, programming, outdated belief systems, outdated paradigms, these sorts of things, but things that kind of have made a home within your subconscious and may be, rearing their ugly head, if you will, at times when you're triggered. And if you've paid attention, right, or been aware, or been really kind of playing the observer and monitoring yourself, let's say, I feel as though you may have picked up on this, right? Because again, it feels like for some of you, like your attention was being brought to these things, these patterns that have been kind of cyclic and have been repeating, maybe for some of you for years or decades even. And so it feels like, these things may have made a home, if you will, deep within your subconscious, and they've just been kind of running things from behind the scenes. And so when you find yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, that are triggering, that, feel maybe threatening in some kind of way, whether that be to your emotions, your intellect, your ego, right? Ooh, that was weird. I heard that. I don't know if you guys heard that. Your physical safety. I feel like it was really bringing this forward and showing again how it interrupts your life. Now, that whole little voice thing that just happened when I said ego, I feel like some of you may have heard this before. Maybe somebody talks about your ego's big, or, something like that. And maybe this is something that you have not wanted to admit to yourself. Now, I think it's important to understand because New Age likes to tout this whole like kill your ego. And while there is a little bit of truth to that, right, because it's more about working through those lower egoic drives and really releasing those, We need our ego. We need it to develop our capital I, or our individuality. It's very important to our soul development. So, I wanted to clarify that a little bit. Certainly, you can look into this for yourself. But I feel as though, for some of you, there's been this whole kind of, what is the word? Apprehension. Thank you. This whole kind of apprehension around, or even feeling like defensive when someone brings your ego into question, which, the thing about your ego is when that happens, it does feel like threatened, and it likes to retaliate. It tries to kind of save itself or defend itself. And so I feel, again, this was really being brought forward so you could recognize or start to observe these patterns and to take responsibility for them, right? Where you're not reacting, but you are responding. And there's a difference. There's a really big difference, right? So, I feel like you were encouraged to, again, recognize these things and to be intentional. Okay, you also have here diplomatic harmony and balance. Yeah, right. The law of neutrality. I feel like this was coming forward to bring more harmony into your experience, as well as more balance, right? Because I do feel like, when our ego is really calling the shots, our ego, our lower egoic drives, our trauma, our wounding, our pain, our programming, etc., when it's calling the shots, when it's playing the puppet master, we tend to be incredibly out of balance. There's a huge, lack of harmony in our experience. We tend to be in this deep inner conflict. And so I feel like, again, this was being brought to your attention so that you could, honor the truth or rather honor the truth of what's really going on, honor your truth. Okay. Because here's the thing, like, feeling things like anger, hatred, guilt, these kinds of emotions, though it's best for us to find ways to heal around those things and release them, emotions have value. They have tremendous value and hold a lot of wisdom in their context. They can really tell us a lot about what's going on inside. They're kind of like breadcrumbs for us, right? Oh, I'm getting angry about this. And then it can, if we allow, give us kind of this, waypoint, if you will, toward what is actually going on. Thank you. It brings up the opportunity for us to ask, why is this happening? What am I not seeing here? Right? Or what do I need to see around this? So I feel like with this card here, diplomatic, harmony and balance coming up for you, I feel like February brought for you the opportunity to bring things into balance, to create more harmony, especially within yourself. And I feel like the means by which you could do that is, by honoring your truth, gaining clarity on these things that are going on, what is creating this imbalance or disharmony or conflict within, and really pointing out things for what they are. I also feel, though, as though it was bringing to your attention, again, how these things impact your experience, how these patterns or habits impact your life, right? How they interrupt your life, and not in a good way. I mean, it's, sometimes there's things that interrupt our lives to pull us out of our comfort zone, which certainly this rings true for this experience as well. But, when these things are interrupting our lives, it really can show us how much we are being resistant to our purpose, our destiny, what life truly has in store, the potential that we have. So, I feel like they go hand in hand anyway. But I really feel this is really coming through. It's like, give yourself a fair chance, right? Like, being in a state of resistance, you don't really give yourself this fair chance to experience life from a very truthful and honest and clear way, a more harmonious and balanced way, right? I hope that makes sense. You also have here disciplined, tenacious, and resilient. Yeah, so here's the thing. Pisces, I feel as though this whole, how do I say this? Playing the observer, monitoring yourself, and, being in a state of responding versus reacting requires a lot of discipline. It really, really does, which is why a lot of people don't do it. But if you look at this from, so, this card is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is a planet of strategy and structure, right? It's, and responsibility and obligation. And I feel as though, how do I say this? Playing the observer and monitoring yourself and taking that responsibility, there's a certain strategy to it, especially when it comes, from spirit, in the sense of there's a reason why this is happening. Okay, these things coming up is essentially divine plan. It's a strategy, right? That is brought forward from, God. You can call it whatever you wish. I call it God, so that's what I'm going to use. But, it's this strategy essentially brought forward by God to say, hey, looking at these things can bring this in for you. And then there's something else even further beyond that, right? So if we look at God as like the master chess player, right? And, being very strategic about all of these moves that are being made in your life, and things coming up for a reason, and you experiencing things for a reason, we can see how, even though these things are uncomfortable, even though they ask a lot of us, and, it requires us to be resilient and tenacious and disciplined, if we can position ourselves to do that, we will find ourselves experiencing something much better on the other side. I hope that makes sense, right? But I feel like how do I say, the main thing here, I feel like the overall energy was asking you to take responsibility, right? To play the observer and take responsibility, to make the choices that will ultimately bring in harmony and balance for you, right? You also have, you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. Yeah, it's interesting because the Libra in the tarot is represented by the Justice card, which is honoring truth. And a lot of times we think we know what our truth is, but we don't. A lot of times our true self, our deepest truths have these layers upon layers upon layers of trauma, wounding, programming, beliefs, etc., that are piled on top of it. And if we want to truly discover who we are, we have to be willing to peel all of those layers back, right? And it takes time. It is not easy, right? I'm not going to sit here and, spout out some wishful thinking, nonsense. But, once we start peeling those back and we start really getting, to heal and release things and to really discover who we truly are, how do I say this? It has a tremendous impact on how we move in the world. And I feel like we become far more aware of how we impact the world. Okay, so I know that may seem kind of vague, because here's the thing. when you start peeling back your own layers and you see how much trauma, wounding, etc. has been piled upon you through all of these experiences, these are not things that you want to create for other people. Okay, because you understand the complexity of having to peel them back, having to heal it and deal with it and take that responsibility. So it's not something that you want to impress upon someone else. And so we tend to be very conscious of what we're doing. Not only that, but then we become aware of as well how much we've been living from a lie. Now, this is why a lot of people don't do this work, right? A vast majority of people don't do it because it requires us looking at ourselves without rose-colored glasses and being very, very, very honest. And that hurts, right? When you start to see that you've been living from a lie, you have been living from a place that is not truly you, and that lie has been running your life and essentially robbing you of who you truly are, you move a whole lot different. And you start to feel, I feel like a good word to say is like free. Okay, that's not to say you don't experience challenges and obstacles and discomfort and, fear, but it's just when it meets you, it's a whole different experience. So I know I kind of got very like off track there. But I just feel like it's so important to bring these things forward because I feel like the whole point of the overall energy that was coming through for you was to position you in such a way that you could start to uncover your truth and start moving in that direction, like keep pivoting over and over and over, because that's really what a lot of this spiritual journey, a healing journey, an evolutionary journey, dharma, whatever you want to call it, that's a lot of what this is. A lot of it is peeling these things back and pivoting continuously and continuing to adjust and realign yourself with what is true, which does, by the way, change as you peel back these layers, right? As you uncover, as you uncover more about who you truly are, you tend to, pivot. Usually, at least in my experience, I'm not sure how others may have experienced this, but in my experience, my morals and values have remained pretty much the same throughout my unfolding. There are, maybe some little tweaks and things, but generally speaking, they've been pretty similar to what they've always been. Now, again, that's just my experience. Certainly that could change for other people. But I think the whole point is for you to not be overthinking it so much. I don't know why. I feel like for some of you, you may have been living in like a survival mode for a vast majority of your life. And I feel like maybe there are those of you who, because of that, find yourself constantly thinking about things. I feel like a lot of you, or at least some of you, okay, that's interesting, may have been in positions where you've been judged repeatedly, and where people have been like, you're bad, you're whatever, you're not enough, you're this and you're that. And maybe this is something, maybe this is where some of these habits and patterns and other things have come forward. But I feel as though, this is really encouraging you to peel back these layers, find that true north, whatever that is for you, and to not overthink it, right? To trust your heart, to trust your intuition, to trust your truth. And I'm not talking about, the truth, that stems from your trauma, your wounding, your programming. And to be able to discern the difference, you have to really know yourself. You have to really observe yourself And again, I feel like all of this has been unfolding to try to position you in a way that you're able to do that. So I hope that makes sense. I know I've kind of like, I kind of, got off track a little bit there, but I hope this makes sense. All right, let's look at the realizations or epiphanies that February 2024 brought for you. The law of power. Yeah, remember the truth of who you are, like I was saying, right? Yes. I feel like I just, for some of you, I feel like you've looked in the mirror and you don't know who you are. Or you've asked yourself something like, how did I get here? And maybe this is where the realization has come from. Like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I got here, or I don't know what I'm doing here. Or maybe I just don't like who I am, or I don't feel at home in myself, or something like that. I feel like you may have had this conversation with yourself, and I feel like the realization is you've got to remember who you are. Like, really who you are, right? Because again, it feels to me, based on this overall energy, that some of you have either been on autopilot, right? Where you're just going through the motions, you know, um, and not connecting deeply with yourself. Or perhaps you've been in these patterns that have just, kind of pulled you away from the truth of who you are. And there's this, need to get back to that. But I feel like some of you have realized that whatever path you've been on is not how you're going to bring the truth of who you are forward. That whatever you've been doing isn't the means by which you can figure out who you truly are. Okay, so I just have to pause for a minute. I was going to move on to the next card, but I've noticed that this woman is in all black. And I'm not judging people who wear black, okay, because it's like one of my favorite colors to wear, honestly, but this woman being in all black, I just got the message of you've been draped in darkness. You've been draped in darkness. And whether that is, of like, I feel like there's two ways that you can look at this. One being you have been, experiencing this darkness for some time, or going through like a dark period of your life for some time. Or that's simply the truth of like your light, your truth, your light has been hidden by darkness. And the thing of it is, I just want to share that regardless of how saintly one thinks they are or appears to be, we all have the capacity for darkness. All of us. It does not matter. And we all have to face that darkness, that shadow within ourselves and in the world. It's part of our development. So I just want you to know you're not alone in this. You're not the first, and you certainly will not be the last. Okay? If you resonate with that, just know. But the way that you take back your power from these things that have been essentially in the driver's seat of your life, where you find yourself like asking, like, how did I get here? The means by which you take back that power, reclaim your sovereignty, is doing what's necessary to uncover the truth of who you are, to remember the truth of who you are, to get back to the depths of your soul, to reconnect with your soul. Okay. Yeah, so you have here the law of individualization. Shine your unique light bright. Yes. Right? Like I said, draped in darkness, with, have like your light being hidden or covered or buried. And so again, I feel like the realizations or epiphanies that came through for you in the month of February had something to do with, okay, maybe it didn't come through in the exact way that I'm bringing it forward, but had something to do with realizing that your light has been buried within you. Your truth has been buried within you. And the only way to take back your power, to feel at home, is to, peel back everything that's been covering it up. And as you discover those things, shining it, right? Being who you truly, truly are from your soul level, right? The deepest parts of yourself. And yeah, there's a huge message here around reclaiming your sovereignty, developing which I talked about, right? Your capital I, your individuality. Because it feels to me like something else, I don't know what that is for you specifically, but something else has been in the driver's seat. And it's like the only way to bring yourself out, the only way to, again, get back to who you truly are, not even back, but to uncover who you truly are, discover who you truly are. The only way to reclaim your sovereignty, reclaim your power, to feel at home in yourself is to remember who you are and to embody that and live it. I mean, notice this woman here is in what's, like glittery gold colors, which is often associated with the sun, which is, of course, it is, our true identity. It's our identity. The sun is our identity, or a representation of our identity, right? Let's see. I feel like I want to read the message for you for this individualization card before we move forward. So let me just find that for you. I feel like it might add a little bit more something for you, for someone. Okay, so I'm noticing that this is number 40 in this deck. And I don't know why, but I feel like that number may be important to you. Maybe that's your age. Maybe it's an important number, I don't know, for you, a lucky number or something in some way, shape, or form. I just felt like I needed to share it. So whoever that's for, maybe just, like I said, just kind of like a sign for someone. Okay, so it says, right? You are the individualization of spirit. By drawing this card, it is a reminder to embrace yourself exactly as you are. Let go of trying to be what the culture has told you. Let go of looking for validation and confirmation from people in your life. You are a trendsetter, a visionary, a unique divine individual. The world is ready for you to take the lead. The universe is ready to reflect your shining light. Place both your hands over your heart and ask for your inner intuition to guide you in birthing your highest expression. Ask yourself, what is the best and highest use of my energy in this lifetime? Right? You are the only person in the entire universe with your divine gift. You. Okay, so again, like I said earlier, right, there's this divine orchestration and strategy behind why these things come up. And I feel like a big part of that for you, Pisces, is like it says here, right? The world is ready for you to take the lead. The world is ready to experience the unique gift that you have to offer, which is you, right? It is you shining your light. in whatever field, whatever gift you have, or talent rather, whatever talent you have, whatever field you're called to, whatever that may be, the world is ready to experience you in that way, right? Oh, so you have here past lives, natural gifts, and karmic challenges. So I do feel, I feel like I was saying earlier, right? I feel like these things, or the reason why this is coming up, is because there are things that have been cyclically or habitually, right, reoccurring. Things, like this wheel that's just, or treadmill that you've been on. And so again, I feel like the realizations have come forward to show you those things. Like, hey, this is something that I have to put the effort into. I have to have the, tenacity and resilience and discipline to work through this, to honor what I discover in order to get off that treadmill. Now, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation, but if you're somebody that is maybe open-minded about it or does believe in it, for some of you, maybe this is something you've been carrying, from a previous lifetime, or maybe many previous lifetimes. And you have this opportunity before you to, finally let it go, to finally release it, to put it behind you, like for good, right? Now it's interesting as well that it says natural gifts there, because like I was saying with that, law of individualization, shine your light bright, the world is ready to experience your unique gifts, right? In whatever field, whatever skill or talent that you possess, right? That you hold within you. Maybe you have not even discovered it yet. But I feel like, this is another part of the reason why this has come up. But I feel like the realization with this card is that this is something that is not, this is challenging. Like this is something that is, perhaps connected with karma, or, repeating cycles, or however you want to look at it. And this is something that I myself have to take my power back from and overcome. You have here, trust the niggle. What is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? So here's the thing. I just want to say, I'm going to say this as delicately as possible, but I do like to be as transparent as I possibly can with what I'm getting, right? I'm not one who likes to sugarcoat things. So please do know that when I bring this through, it's not to be insensitive or to invalidate any of your experiences, that it comes from a place of love and honesty. Okay. So for some of you, I feel as though some of the realizations that, or epiphanies that may have come through for you in the month of February, had to do with your intuition speaking to you. And it's interesting because I feel like it's not all the time. Okay. I feel like this has been in sporadic moments. And I feel like there are those of you listening who your intuition would tell you something, or that niggle, right? You'd get that niggle and you would like hear it, if you will, or feel it, or whatever. And then go into avoidance, go into escapism. Like, I don't want to hear that. Nope. I'm not accepting that. Now, being able to do that it can be helpful, but not when it's in an escapist way, not when it's in an avoidant way. When you're just being discerning, right, to what is true, what is not true, that's a different story, right? But when you're having these truths come up through you, and you're choosing to, nope, like it's true, And you're like, nope, I'm not listening. Nope, I don't care. Nope, I don't want to see it. Like that, you know, can be detrimental in some cases. So, you know, I feel like for some of you, some of the realization comes from recognizing, oh, you know, my intuition, my inner voice, I don't know, whatever it is that you've referred to it as, or maybe you haven't given it a name at all. But, you know, having these things, these truths come up through you, I feel like you've realized, oh, like this is something that is, you know, like I've heard this before type of thing. Interesting again, right, that these two women in the background of this card are draped in black. And the one there in the front, you know, is of course in color. And I think it's interesting that she's more toward the front, right? Because I feel like, how do I say this? And this is something that your lower egoic drives like does, okay? But it's almost like having, you know, an angel on one shoulder and, you know, a devil on the other, right? Where your darkness will try to tell you something. Oh, don't listen to that. That's not really what you truly feel, but you know it is, and it keeps coming up, right? It's like, oh, just ignore that type of thing. We've all seen these, you know, cartoons and things about this, and you know, I feel like the whole that whole kind of lie is to keep you draped in darkness, right? I mean, that's kind of what demons do. You know, this is not a comfortable conversation, I'm well aware, to have, but you know, that's what demons do. They overpromise and underdeliver. So, you know, I feel like it's like, oh, just avoid that. Well, then you keep repeating the same things over and over. And that niggle, your intuition, is trying to pull you out of that darkness, right? Out from under that spell, out, you know what I'm saying? So I hope that makes sense. And I hope you know where that's coming from. Because I know, you know, these are not easy conversations to have by any means. But that doesn't make them any less necessary, and it doesn't make them any less true. It just means they're uncomfortable. So let's look at how this might impact your journey moving forward. You have the law of cosmic creation. Your thoughts will echo into eternity. So here's the thing. I feel like so this is really interesting. If you're someone who maybe resonated with me sharing that number 40, and maybe, you know, maybe this is your age, you may have come to this place, or may be, you know, finding yourself arriving at this place where you're realizing how do I say? You're realizing that being how do I say this? The pattern that you have been repeating, or patterns, whatever that looks like for you, has been building this legacy about you. I hope that makes sense. And I feel like for some of you, or, you know, you found yourself at this place again, maybe you're someone who is, you know, 40 and are looking at yourself. I feel like, you know, there could be this, I want to do things differently, because this is, I mean, you know, this is how long I've been dealing with this. This is how long I've been repeating the same cycles over and over. And this is not this is not all I want to remember. Does that make sense? Like, this is not the legacy that I've wanted to build for myself, or that, you know, how I want other people to remember me, or something like that. For others of you, or maybe this is an and or thing, I feel like maybe moving forward, this could impact your journey by essentially highlighting the fact that what you do in this lifetime, And again, maybe you're not somebody who believes in reincarnation, but if you are, or maybe you again have an open mind, and maybe we'll explore that a little bit more. Maybe you're coming to the realization that, okay, what I do in this lifetime really impacts what happens next. Once this lifetime is over, I'm going to have things to answer for, right? I'm going to have like, I'm going to have to deal with some things. Or that what you do not heal and move through in this lifetime, you will have to deal with again in another one, right? So I feel like for some of you, there's this realization of, like, what have I been doing? And is this how I want to keep moving forward? And I'm going to be honest with you, pretty much as far as I can tell, anybody who embarks on this journey of spiritual development, of soul development, of healing, of evolution, all find themselves in this place to some degree or another. Okay? So again, I just want to make it very clear, you're not alone in this. You're not the first. You will not be the last if you resonate with that. I am again going to grab the guidebook just to read the message of this card for you. Let me just find it. Okay, so it says, by picking this card, it indicates that you can exhale and know that your efforts will lessen. Create assets and not liabilities, and witness the perpetual giving of prosperous fruit. Create an environment that enables your greatness to exponentially grow. Create conscious businesses that help future generations compound in their ability to thrive. The universe is your canvas to leave your legacy. Right? So again, I just feel as though it's very much about, what is it that I want to leave behind? What is it that I want to create? Right? Okay, you have here as well the law of rhythm. The universe is guiding you. Go with the flow. Yeah, for some of you, I feel like if you embark on this journey, or you continue along this vein, or if you allow yourself to move forward in this process and to really dedicate yourself to it, to yourself. I mean, really, that's what it is. I feel as though, because, how do I say? I feel like because it ultimately is, God, the universe, your intuition, guiding you and leading you and orchestrating these things, and perhaps experiencing the liberation of that, the fire that it sets in your life. I feel as though for some of you, you may find, this impacts your journey moving forward by arriving at this place where you're like, listen, I trusted this one time, which I'm just going to be real, Pisces. I'm getting this question for you of like, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? Okay. But I feel, you could find yourself in this place where, again, if you choose to continue along this path, where you're like, this is what doing this provided for me. Which, I'm going to be honest, a lot of people kind of experience that, right? They kind of experience that liberation. They experience the truth of who they are. And it almost, I don't want to say it's like addicting, but in some sense it is. Because you just, life in general, or, existence in general, feels so much less weighted. It feels so more, how do I say, so much more glorious. Like you're almost like bewildered that life could be this, because previous to that you would have never imagined that you would feel such reverence for life. And so I feel like for some of you, this could impact your journey moving forward by you just being in this state where you're like, I'm just going with the flow, right? I'm letting God, my intuition, the universe, again, insert word here, just guide me because it's worked for me, right? It's almost, like it's proven itself, if you will. Or you find yourself in a position where it's like, I don't have no reason not to do this. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you have here as well. I'm getting fear, by the way. And I feel like this fear is coming from this card, if I'm going to be honest. Because like as soon as I flipped it over, fear started manifesting in my body. You have core wounds, vulnerability, potential through pain. Now, here's the thing. I feel like this is going to impact your journey moving forward. Again, it's going to ask you to be resilient and tenacious and disciplined. Why? Because you're going to have to face your own darkness. You're going to have to face those core wounds and pain. Here's the thing. The truth will set you free, but first it's going to hurt a lot. And that is without a doubt like one of the truest things ever. Okay? It does. It does hurt a lot, but it hurts far, far less than living a lie. Far, far, far less than living a lie. And for a much shorter period of time. I'm not saying that it will be easy, because it won't be. But that's not to discourage you. Right? This would not be coming up if you couldn't handle it. You would not have been brought to this space to hear this if you could not handle it. Right? Essentially, God has faith in you. God sees your potential to work through these things. It is going to take you getting vulnerable, and I feel like for some of you, that's where the fear comes. Right? Facing these things, feeling what needs to be felt in order for you to deal with what needs to be dealt with so that you can heal it and release yourself from it. Right? Chiron, which I talked about, before we were getting into the cards. Chiron in astrology and even in mythology is known as the wounded healer. Right? So it's this whole kind of energy of not ignoring our wounds and not pretending like they don't exist or pretending like they don't affect us, but instead seeing them, acknowledging them, and turning them into something that we can use, right? Into a tool to heal ourselves and others, or to teach ourselves and others. A lot of times those wounds or traumas that come up with Chiron are ones that we've inherited in childhood or in past lives. Right? So I feel like this is coming up because it's a big thing. Right? It's a big, how would I say? You're on the cusp of a big life change, a turning point, if you choose to pursue this. Right? If you choose to essentially thrust yourself into the fire to be reborn, you're on the cusp of a big life change, of experiencing life in probably a completely different way than what you ever have before. Right? But it is, again, it's going to require, some degree of surrender on your part. It's going to require you allowing, God to lead you. And again, it's not an easy thing to do. Faith, surrender, trust, it's not easy, right? But it is far less difficult than living a lie. So, you know, you got to kind of like pick your pain type of thing. You also have finances, value, possessions. Yeah, so for some of you, you know, I feel like based on everything that's come up so far, I feel like it's going to change how you see yourself, right? Because I feel like your core wounds, okay, your core wounds for some of you have been dictating the value you see in yourself. And you know, I feel like for some of you, it's really cast a shadow on the value that you truly hold, the potential you truly hold, the light that you truly hold. And I feel like the, you know, in some ways you might resonate with placing value in your finances or in your possessions, right? In the things you've acquired. Um, you know, I feel like you have placed your value in external things because it's been a struggle to find it within yourself, right? Again, I think some of those core wounds have probably what is the word? Yeah, those core wounds have played a part in that, like how you see yourself, right? And again, maybe that stems from childhood, or you know, it doesn't have to, but that's possible, certainly. You know, and so I feel like should you move forward again, you know, this could impact your journey by helping you to find that value within yourself, showing, and this is how it feels, right? It feels like God leading you to unpack these wounds, to acknowledge them, you know, again, feel them, deal with them, heal them, because the only way out is through. There is no other way. Okay? There isn't. And so, you know, I feel like God bringing you through those can allow you to see your own value, right? Removing all of those layers. Okay, so you also have, yeah, transformation. Absolutely. Like I said, right? Things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. Yes. Yes. This could impact you moving forward by like stoking the fire of that deep, deep healing. And like I said, transforming you completely, changing how you view the world, how you interact with it, how you show up in it. You know, again, really kind of arriving at this place where you have deep reverence for life, where you're bewildered by life and not in an external, and not just what you experience on an external level, but how it moves you within. Okay. And you also have Mintonkin, longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. So I do feel, you know, this really comes back to this value, seeking that on an external level, right? Seeking that external validation, that external approval from, you know, people in your life, from your job title, your possessions, your financial value, you know, those sorts of things. And I feel, you know, I feel like moving forward, you could find that home within yourself and not need that external validation because you've found it in yourself, right? I also feel that it's interesting to, I don't know what this is about, and maybe this is for someone specific, but I feel like for some of you, you've been trying to find where you belong for quite some time. And I feel like you maybe have moved around a lot, or moved like friendship circles a lot, or something like that, trying to figure out where you belong. And I feel like the reason why you've struggled to do that is because you don't feel like you belong in your own skin. And so, you know, moving forward, all of this, unfolding as it is, or should you choose to continue to allow it to unfold, I feel like could put you in a position where, you're not looking for that. You maybe you start to have these realizations around where maybe you do belong. Because, again, there's this kind of like avoidant kind of energy. And maybe for some of you, you've been running from where you felt maybe like you did belong. I don't know what that's about. Again, maybe that's for someone very specific. But I feel like there may have been people in your life who have been like a light to you in some way. Like shown, how do I say it? Like they reflected back to you glimpses of your own light. Like I feel like you may have seen this. Again, maybe it has been sporadic or, short-lived or something. But I feel like there may have been people in your life who have reflected your light back to you. And you would know this by, so for example, this is something that's talked about. I've heard many different spiritual students, let's say, or even teachers who have talked about this, where, the things that you love and admire and revere in other people tend to be what you hold within yourself. Even if you don't know it, even if you haven't uncovered that for yourself, even if you haven't acknowledged it yourself, they tend to mirror to you what you hold within. Right? So I feel like there have been people in your life who have tried to show you your own light through themselves. They've reflected it back to you. Right? So, that may be something that comes up for you as well. Interesting. I don't know that I've actually ever got that with this card before, so that's pretty fascinating. Okay, let's take a look at the messages and advice to best support and serve you. Okay, so you do have here the law of time. You have the ability to bend time with the power of perception. So I feel like one of the first messages, okay, so I have a lot of things to share. I have a lot of things that are coming in simultaneously. So one part of the message is, here we are in the beginning of March, and around the 25th, I believe, we have a lunar eclipse, and then April 8th, we have a solar eclipse, right? So we are in eclipse season. And I feel like this season for you may be there may be some big developments, during this eclipse season. Maybe it's specifically between the 25th of March and the 8th of April, but I feel like there could be something big happening during that time. Not for everyone, of course. Take it as it resonates, leave it if it's not yours, but I feel like there could be something there. So there's that. The other thing I want to share about this is I feel like there's a message of you're not running out of time. So, I feel, again, if you're somebody who's like, oh wait, you said 40, I'm 40, I'm freaking out. Okay, like, no, you're not running out of time. How do I say this? You guys, it's interesting. You guys, if you've ever experienced those moments where, it's only been a couple of minutes, but it feels like a lifetime. Right? Especially when you're experiencing something really magnificent or beautiful, or, something that some kind of experience that's full of love, and it feels like, even though it's only been a few minutes, or maybe it's been an hour or something, but it feels like it's just been, like days. um I feel like there's something there about that. I don't know, maybe you've experienced those moments with certain people, and there's something about that experience that holds messages for you. I feel I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why it's important, but I felt like I had to say it. So again, take it if it resonates, leave it for someone else if it doesn't. But I feel, depending on how you feel about something, it's going to determine how that time feels to you. I'm getting this energy of, maybe some of you feel like it's been too long or something. Too much time has passed. I don't know what that's about. You guys, I'm getting all sorts of wild things coming through for you, coming through for you with this card. Um, but I just feel like overall, it just depends on your perception of things, your perspective on things, right? Um, Maybe you've been telling yourself, like, I've been like this my whole life. It ain't gonna change now, or it's been too long to fill in the blank. I'm not sure what that might mean. And I feel like it's really like, that's where you sit with it, right? But for example, if you've been telling yourself, like, I've been this way my whole life, this is just how it is, I feel like God's telling you that's not the way it has to be. Or if, let's say, for example, you're like, it's been too long, and it has something to do with you and a situation, or maybe other people. It's like, that's your perception, that's your perspective, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same for someone else, right? I don't know what that is. Let me grab this. I want to read the message for you, because I just feel like there's so many things coming through there. Let's give it something that's a little bit more rooted, has a little bit more foundation. Of course, any of those things could apply to you, or maybe all of them do. I don't know, but I want to give it a little bit more, a little bit more stability, a little bit more something, a little something more firm to stand on with this. Oh, okay. So very interesting. Very interesting for you, Pisces. All right, are you sitting down? I hope you're sitting down. Upon pulling this card, you are deemed the anointed one. It is up to you to make the declaration of who you desire to be and what you desire to experience in this lifetime. Remember, this is not a dress rehearsal. Make the most of every moment. This is the universe asking for your order. Rise to the occasion and become the person you have always desired to be. Every time you notice yourself not being present, take 10 deep and slow breaths. Journal about what you experience. So I'm also going to read the interpretation, just because I feel like it's going to be helpful for someone. Okay? Maybe some of you are looking at, oh my gosh, like, this is going to take so much time for me to heal or to fix, or, I don't know, something. There's something there. It says, time is an illusion. The extent to which you focus on the doing is the extent to which you will experience a lack of time. The extent to which you focus on being is the extent to which you will experience time being limitless. Furthermore, your perception creates the experience of time. For example, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. It is in the demanding of energy upon universal law that all energy forms. Declare it is done. right? So, for example, if you're thinking this is going to take my whole life to fix, well, if that's the time limit you're giving it, right? So, I feel like it's really important to just be present in the moment, right? And you have this going with the flow. And I feel like the more you are doing that, the more likely it's going to be that you're going to look back and realize, holy crap, I've actually come really far in a short period of time. This is something that I've had come up in my membership group, where we'll have a reading and we'll be asked to essentially look at how far we've come. And oftentimes when we do that, we realize, like, holy crap, I've been so focused in being that I haven't realized what I've been doing, how much I've actually been accomplishing just by being, right? By flowing, by surrendering, by trusting, by having faith, by following my intuition. So, again, just take it as it resonates with you, but I feel like that's a pretty powerful message for you, especially because we can get very overwhelmed when we look at, for example, like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life, or I've experienced this cycle my whole life. How am I going to heal all of these things that have been piling on for X amount of years? We can look at it and it's like, we can just kind of sit down in overwhelm and do not, become stagnant, right? You have here as well the law of harmony, dissolve all discordance and chaos. So, it's interesting that you have harmony up here in the beginning, and now you have harmony here as we start to close out. And I feel as though it's here's the thing. I feel like it's very much, Pisces, about you being, like we were saying earlier, disciplined and discerning and honest, and really choosing, the environment you place yourself in, the people that you surround yourself with, and, how much you're feeding disharmony or how much you're feeding chaos. Because, you've been shown, if you resonate with this, you've been shown where things in your life have created kind of a mess, let's say, or they've, interrupted your life or what have you. And so, I feel like being present and aware of those things and being intentional. Yeah, there's fear coming up, pardon me. And trusting your intuition and being disciplined and focused on your truth and creating harmony and balance, right? On getting off that wheel where you just feel like you're spinning around in circles, being whipped around by the universe. I feel like it's choosing, right? I feel like it's you being intentional, taking that responsibility. It's the only way, right? Because no one's coming to save us. No one. We have to do it ourselves, right? Like, even, asking God for help requires effort on your behalf. You see what I'm saying? Like, in order for God to answer a prayer, like, you actually have to pray. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we can't just sit back and wait. The law of immortality. Time is only of the essence for your full expression. What is with all of this time showing up? I feel like some of you, part of this is like, the time is now. Now is the right time. I don't know what that means to you. I don't know if you've been asking yourself or something, but I feel like now is the time, or this is the time you've been waiting for, or something like that. Take it as it resonates. You know what is best for your life, okay? But for some of you, I don't know if you've, like, prayed for help or clarity or truth or guidance or something. And it's like, give me a sign, like, well, here it is. I don't know exactly who that's for or what it is, but I feel like there's this whole kind of like, the time is now. Now is the time. Oh yeah, thank you. If not now, when? Right? If not now, when? Time is only of the essence for your full expression. I'm noticing that there are these little butterflies on, the doorway closest, or the inside of the doorway, closest to the viewer, whoever, would be looking at this card. And I feel like it's like your transformation is, essentially through that doorway, right? Stepping into the unknown. But I feel like there's this acknowledgement of it being, a death and a rebirth. It's essentially, the butterfly is its metamorphosis. It is like going through a death and a rebirth, right? You have the caterpillar, which turns into this like gooey hot mess, and which then ultimately becomes a butterfly, right? You would never imagine that that's the whole kind of process. And I feel like that there's an an acknowledgement of that here in this card, saying, this, it's not going to be pretty. And that's the thing. New Age likes to paint healing, not all the time, okay, but in a lot of ways, likes to paint it as this like, oh, everything is love and light and, stuff like that. And the fact of the matter is, it is messy. It is messy. It is, I mean, it is anything but, easy. It's not this walk in the park, and I feel like anybody who tries to sell you, like tell you that, is selling you something or extremely diluted. So yeah, it feels like, your transformation is in that dive, in that leap of faith. But I do want to share what the guidebook has. I feel like I'm doing this a lot with your reading. But I want to give you, tangible things. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that in some ways with, or it feels hard to do that in some ways with spiritual development, because so much of it is done inwardly. But I just feel like the more information you have, the the better off you are, right? What did that say? Ah, okay, so that's interesting. So it says, by drawing this card, it indicates that you are ready to know the truth of who you are. Your higher self desires for you to reveal the truth of your eternal essence. You are an immortal spiritual being capable of eternal life in the physical body and total wellness. You are the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. Any symptoms of the body are spirit, your higher self, nudging you to align with Mother Nature and universal law. You are not your body, you have a body. Energy can never be destroyed, it only transforms. Spread your wings and fly. Journal and ask yourself, knowing that I am immortal, what is important for me to create and experience in this lifetime? So again, I feel like this is very much about connecting you with your deeper purpose. Like I said, I feel like, there's a strategy to why these things are showing up as they have. and for ultimately God to bring you to this place where you're stepping into the gift that you are to the world. You have communication, correspondence, expression. Yeah. Again, positioning you to be in this place where you are expressing your deepest truths, where you are communicating to everyone, including yourself, including the universe. This is the path that I am walking. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm accomplishing. It's very interesting because, you have the Mercury here, and Mercury is, of course, the symbol of the mind and communication, as it says, intellect, reason, intelligence. But here's the thing. I feel like you haven't been either showing, how do I say this? It's really interesting to me, Pisces, because I feel like some of you have been to some degree an expression of parts of who you are, but only the parts that you feel comfortable showing other people. So for example, let's say you have certain hobbies or I don't know, things like that, right? Certain hobbies you like to do or something. Maybe you show people like, oh, I like this, right? Or certain kind of preferences or something, and you're okay with showing people that about yourself. Maybe you have certain skills or gifts and you're okay with showing people those. But when it comes to getting very deep, when it comes to delving into the corners of your heart and your soul, it's like nope. You got to have a VIP pass to get in there type of thing. I feel like you don't, there's this whole kind of like not fully embodying the whole expression of who you are. And certainly parts of that probably come from not knowing who that, what that really is, or, something to that effect. But I feel like the parts of yourself that you do know, that you tend to maybe avoid or hide or mask or whatever, I feel like this is about bringing this forward. I feel like this is about, essentially putting yourself out there, and not worrying about how, whether or not it's approved or validated by anyone else. I feel like this is, being that full expression of who you truly are as a soul, having a human experience. I also feel like there's this element here because Mercury is this planet of like rational thinking as well. And thought patterns. So there's a couple of things. One, I feel like there's this whole kind of thing of like, you've got to be rational here. The only way that, things are going to change, that you may be able to create harmony and balance in your life, is if you choose that, right? If you choose to align with that. And to acknowledge the thinking patterns that, pull you away from that or pull you out of that. You have commitment, integration, and shifts. Yes, it's going to require your commitment, Pisces. End of story, period. That is it. That's all she wrote. Right? It's going to require your commitment. It is going to require integrating the things that you learn, and allowing that to shift you. So, a lot of times when we have things coming in, whether, we're watching something or, you know what I mean? So we're absorbing something, or we're remembering something through our being, or, certain truths are coming up that way. Like, we have to give it time to sink in. We can't, it's one thing to learn it, right? To gain the knowledge of something, for example. It's a whole nother thing to apply it. It's a whole nother thing to turn that knowledge into wisdom, right? So I feel like there's a message here, like, this is going to take your commitment. It's going to take you applying what it is you gain or learn or come to understand, and allowing it to shift you. see. You also have here culmination, release, illumination. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that will have to be released, that will have to be healed and dealt with. Because I feel like, again, if you choose to embark on this process and allow yourself to fully, kind of immerse yourself in it and be dedicated to it, the light is going to be shed on a lot of things. And once you can't unsee what you see, Pisces. You can't unknow what you know. You can tuck it away in the back of a closet. You can hide from it. You can pretend like it's not there, but you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it, right? And so I feel like, again, right? If you truly want to move into this space where you experience this deep healing, this deep transformation, where you are standing in your power, in your sovereignty, with, living and embodying the truth of who you are, and to create this harmony and balance within yourself, right? It's going to take, again, committing to what it is you are illuminated to. In the sense of, as you learn truths about yourself, committing to those truths, right? Or as you uncover your path, right? The path that God has laid out for you, pursuing that, aligning with it, right? Again, allowing what you're illuminated to, allowing the truths that come in to shift you. And over time, you will start to see the culmination of your efforts, right? You will start to see these different pieces coming together. Especially when it comes to the pieces of who you actually are. Right? But there is this, boldly being this expression of your deepest truths, which in today's society is not an easy thing to do, I mean, again, it's not to deter you, because it most certainly can be done. It's just the realization of things, right? Playing the observer, like things are what they are, but that doesn't have to stop you. So finally, you have pillar of light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. So I feel like the message here for you is to continue along this path, right? To continue to allowing the light to shine through you and from within you, to illuminate the different aspects and corners of yourself, and to allow it to lift you up out of the darkness. And I do feel, that essentially it's interesting because it says you are the oracle here, right? And Pisces, you tend to be a very intuitive, very psychically sensitive, mystical sign, right? You tend to be kind of built to bring these, things from the subtle realms through. And, so I feel like, how do I say? I feel like this is about getting back to who you truly are. I mean, I know that goes without saying based on everything that we've had come through here for you, but I feel like it's reiterating that, right? This is about raising you out of the darkness to, reconnect you with who you truly are. And I feel like you're able to do that by trusting that inner voice, by trusting your intuition and the light that you're bringing through you. Of course, as with everything else on this channel, use your discernment, right? With everything that comes through you, use your discernment. Ask questions, take it back to God, meditate on it, pray about it, whatever it is you do, okay? Use your discernment. It's important. It's so freaking important. But understand, like, this is about positioning you so that you can shine your light brightly upon the world, right? So that you can find it, stand in it, and share it. The world is waiting, Pisces, and I feel like for some of you, you've been waiting, wondering, hoping, wishing, praying, even. And now's the time. Wow, Pisces, this has been pretty intense, but I feel as though it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. And to be honest, if this was my reading, for example, I'd be inspired because I feel like, there's a lot going on here to position you in such a way that you have all of this support, um, you know, from the helpers in the subtle realms trying to orchestrate things for you to bring these things to the surface so that you can recognize them, so that you can do things maybe differently and make different choices and be very intentional and to see yourself in a very, very different light. And I think it's incredible. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, of course, but I pray that what has come through here for you has blessed you in some way, shape, or form, has provided some sort of value or confirmation or clarity, or at the very least inspires you to keep growing, evolving, and uncovering the truths of who you are. If something here has resonated for you, please, I would like to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel or comment below. Of course, you could share this with others as well. And I want to thank you for doing that. I also want to thank you so very much for being here with me, sharing your time and your energy, your attention, and of course, your lovely company. I'm so, so very grateful for you being here. I pray that you have a wonderful rest of your month, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Take care of your growing, expanding, shining, and beautiful, magnificent soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye.